Before you begin to watch this video, do make sure you hit the like button and the subscribe button. So we are going to be building a quiz application. So it's going to be an application that can ask you some questions. Then you select the right answer and it moves on. It's going to calculate the score, and it has a random of 10 questions. And in this video, we're going to see how we build that. So let's just give this a try to understand what exactly we are going to be building with. So you can see here we have the question 1 that says, in the first game of Sly Cooper franchise, what family heirloom did Sly Cooper want to steal back? So I don't even know that, but I'm just going to select a random answer. So when we select a random answer, you can see automatically it's going to take us to the second question, and the right answer is going to be highlighted in red. That means that the previous answer I selected was correct. So I'm going to select another random answer, and you can see I selected the wrong one and my score still remains 1. So for this one, what does the letters mean? So to be sincere, I don't really know, but let's just give this a try, and I got it. So in the most tradition, who was the wife of Zeus? I'm not a great fan of tradition, but I'm going to select this, and you can see that the more we select questions, we can move on, and the number here is going to be increasing. So I'm just going to select till we get to 10. And actually, if you wish not to answer the particular question on your screen immediately, you can click on this button to go to the next one, and still is going to take you to the next question. Then you can select your answer, and once we are done, it's going to bring out this play button. Then we can play it, and it's going to start afresh. So this is what we are going to be building. It's going to be an insightful video for you to learn how you can use a third-party API to build a quiz app. So let's get started. So right now, let's go ahead and get started. So if you check on my quiz.txs file right now, I have some hooks imported at the top. So these are the hooks that we are going to be making use of. So make sure you have them imported. Then I defined some default state values we are going to be using. The first one is the loading, in order to notify the user that the app is currently loading. The next one is the questions, to get the questions to display for the user. So this is question, not question. Then we have the user answers, which is definitely going to be storing each answer the user takes in to an array value. Then it's going to display the score as well. So the default score is 0. We have the game over. We have the total questions. We have the set answer. So for the set answer, I'm using the useRef. That's because I don't want to emit events backward. So right now, let's go ahead and create a method called start trivia, because that is what we are going to be using to actually grab some data from our API request. So I'm going to create a start quiz, which is going to be an assign function, but the assign function is not going to be on this one. Okay, as we go on, we are going to understand. So we have to set the loading to true. We have to set game over to false. We have to now get the new questions. So the new questions, let's just go ahead and create a function called exports cons get quiz questions. So this get quiz questions is going to be making a request to our API URL in order to get the questions for us. So but it's going to be an assign, because we want to return a promise. Now let me go just quickly grab the URL that we are going to be making use of. So for you to get that URL, you can as well come over to opentdb, I guess. So you can go over to opentdb.com, come over to the API. You can generate one, but I already have the one I generated, so that's exactly the one we are going to be making use of. So this is it, and if you can notice here, we have the amount and the difficulty, and that is because in our in the opentdb.com, you already have the settings and the category and all the things you can actually manipulate in order to generate a specific URL. So these are the parameters you can send, or the query parameters you can send with the URL. So what you saw earlier actually is the GitHub repo, which I may make available for you whenever we finish the video. So right here, I'm going to bring in the amount, which is just a number, and I'm going to bring in the difficulty. So the difficulty, we are going to create an enum called difficulty. So I'm going to export. I don't think I need to export it, but let me kind of check. So we can export, and okay, we can export it because we are still going to make use of it in the quiz.css. So we have the easy, which is equal to the easy, not this. We have the medium, which is equal to the medium. So guys, sorry for that. And we have the hard. That's because whenever you're using Vim, if you're on capital letters, it's going to just be bouncing so far from where you are. So we pass that enum value to this difficulty. So right now, let's go ahead and make a request. So I'm going to get the data. So the data is going to make a fetch request to our endpoint. Now, if you are familiar with this, you know that this has to return an await. So whenever we return an await, the next thing also is to return another await and get the JSON values. So let's go ahead and console.log data. So for the new questions right now, we can now get the quiz questions. So if you look at this, if you're observant, you're going to see the amount. So it's going to ask us for the amount. So the amount is coming from the total questions, and difficulty is going to come for the enum.easy. So let's save that and check in our application. We have it refreshed, but over here we are supposed to console out that value, but it's not working because we have not yet started making use of this start quiz. So that is why we brought in the use effect. So I'm going to use the effect. This is just like component did mount, and I'm going to start quiz immediately, and we want it to run on the criteria that the component has loaded. So let's check in our console. You can see all the values and all the questions that we are getting. So we are going to create an interface or a type for our questions, which is as well very simple. So let's go. We are going to be making use of all these values you see here, like the key holders. We have the category, correct answer, difficulty, incorrect answer, question. So at the top here, I'm going to create, or beneath here, I'm going to export type question. Don't know why I'm mistyping things. So we have the category, which is a string. We have the correct answer, which is as well a string. We have the difficulty. So the difficulty, we are just going to, okay, let's just go ahead and put a string for now. We have the incorrect answer, which is as well a string, but mind you, we have some an array of incorrect answer over here. So you have the correct answer is going to be a string, but we have an array of incorrect answers, so we are going to make use of this. That is why we created something like similar to Lodash sorting of array. So we are going to create our own answer shortly. So we have the question as well, which is a string, and we have the type, which is a string. So let's save that. And guys, I always type question, so this is question, not question. So that's it. And now we are going to pass. Okay, let's kind of check something. We still need one more value, so we are not going to be making use of this value this way. So what we can do is, instead of us to return this, we can return data.results.map. We have the question. So over here, the question, we are going to pass the question, and it's going to give us a callback. Now inside this callback, we can now spread the question. So if you're not understanding what I'm doing, once you pass this question, this type that you define here, you can actually pull it out with the structuring. You can pull out difficulty, but we don't want to do those things individually. So we just want to spread all those things we got, and we are going to now create our own answers. Now our own answers is going to use the sorting of array, which is going to take up the question.incorrect answers, then it's going to take also the question.correct answer. So that is going to be sorting the array for us, and that will lead us to create one more type called the question state. So quickly, we can now export type question state, which is going to take the question, and then we have also the answer. I think this is supposed to be a string of array, yeah, because we are sorting arrays here. So we are done with that, and mind you, back here we can now use the question state on question state. I think I misspelled that, so sorry guys, let me quickly rename that. So this is question state, and over here we can just bring in the question state, and it's a question state with an array, I guess. So it says cannot find question states, so let's make sure. And oh guys, let's just leave it this way, or I wanted to get rid of this s, so sorry for this little distraction. So we have that solved, and that is going to be the type for our question. So when we look at our console, okay, we didn't console out any value, but our app seems to be running properly. So let's go ahead and save and check. So we're having that error because this is incorrect answers, not answer. Incorrect answers. So let's save that and check again. So let me save that. So right now we do not have any single error, non-iterable. Let's go ahead and console.log. I think you should just show us a promise questions. Okay, so we are done with that, and that is working perfectly. So the next thing we have to do right now is to start adding some design to our application, so that we can start displaying some things that look similar to our introductory video. So let's just go ahead and do that, and that's going to lead me to clear everything here. So we have to start afresh. So inside this view we are going to have a style flex of 1. We have to justify the content flex end. Don't worry, you understand why I'm doing this. We have a position of 20, a position of relative, a padding of 20, a background color of white. Then inside this view we are going to have the view, but first let me add the floating icon. So the floating icon is going to be a view with a style of padding 20. Background color is going to be ash 006996 006996. We have to align the items to the center. So guys, I'm very fast because I don't want the video to delay. We have to justify the content as well to the center. Then we have the border radius to be 300 because of we want it to be round. Let's give it a width and height. Let's give it a position of absolute, since the parent one is relative. Give it a bottom of 20. We want it to be on the bottom right 20 as well. So let's save this and check, and you can see we have something like the next icon that we definitely designed. So why you can see this on the bottom is because we use the flex justify flex end. So inside here we can just quickly add our play icon. So the play icon is going to accept it an active true, and on press is going to, okay, let's just leave the on press for now, but let's just show that. So our play icon is definitely supposed to show. So let's go ahead and add other elements or components. So here we have the view. Now this view is going to have a style of flex direction of row. We have the margin top to be 70. We have to justify the content with space between. Then inside this view we have the text. Now you have the style of the text. Let's give it a font family of Open Sans semi bold. Then we have the font size of 16. So guys, sorry for that little noise. So we have questions over here. Then for this one is going to be a text. Now inside this text, let's give it a style with font family of Open Sans semi bold, same font family. Then we can give it a font size of 16 as well. Give it a color of 006996, and it's going to take a text of 1 to 10. So let's save this and check. It says font family. I think is not has not been, unless I made a mistake from the spelling of the name. Then I think I have to go over to app.css and copy directly. Okay, I didn't load the fonts over here. So guys, sorry. Let me quickly load in the fonts, then we can continue. So right now I've loaded the fonts, and you can always have them from the GitHub repository. So let's check our application. Now we can see the question, but we don't want it at the bottom. All I just want to do is to wrap everything here with a new view with a style of flex1. And I'm going to close that. Then wherever this view stops, I'm just going to put that at the end, and that should take it to the top, I guess. And this should take it to the top. So let me kind of refresh the application. So I think I didn't spell this correctly. This is style, and let's check. Okay, right now we have it at the top. So we are done with that. So beneath this view we have to put another view down, then give it a style. We have the flex direction of this to be row. We have to align the items to the center. We have to give it a font. No, let me just give it a margin top of 33, padding right of 10. So for this one, inside it we are going to have a text. We have a text of 1. Then let's tidy it up. I have to give it a color of 006996. Font family open bold. So let me just grab that with a font size of 16. Then we already have the one. Let's give it a margin right. Sorry guys for that. Margin right of 10, and let's save. Then we have another text at the bottom. So this text is going to be the text for the text for the question. So let me check something guys. So we have the text for the question. So this text is going to have a style of color black. Then we have a font family of, for this one is going to be Open Sans regular. We have text aligned to be left, and we have the font size to be 16. So this one, I'm just going to type a random question, the length of the bridge which a train 130 meters long and traveling at 45 kilometers per hour can cross in 30 seconds is. So let's save this and check. So you can see at least we have something presentable, something that looks really like a question, and also we have the number of the question, and that looks some more better than just looking so blank while we work on the logic. So back here, I'm going to add another view. So this view is going to have a style. It's going to have a style. We have flex direction to be column. This is where all the buttons that we are going to be making use of is going to be joined together, because if we have like 4 or 5 answers, it has to display those answers inside a button. So we have the align items as well to the center. Then we have padding top. So this padding top is going to be 14 because we want the buttons to look more neat. So we have padding horizontal. So the padding horizontal is 24.5, while we have the margin top, which is 30. So I'm just going to add a button. So this button, we are going to create our own button. So it's just very simple to do. All you just have to do is to create a button component. So over here, we are going to be creating a component called button. I'm going to export this, and I'm going to change this to to ESC style. Const button is equal to a function, and I'm going to export default button. So let me kick that out. So for this one, we are going to be making use of the React button. So React buttons come from React Native gesture handler. So that's exactly what you're going to make use of. So I'm going to wrap everything inside the React button. And mind you, there are some things we still have to accept. But before we use those things, let's go ahead and okay, let me just style it first. Let me just add a style. So we have style over here, and inside here we are going to have a text. Now this text also is going to have a style. There's going to be styles dot label, and it's going to have a color of let's just put a color of black for now. So why I did this way is because you know that we are still yet coming to use our logic to pass maybe an answer or the right answer over there. So let me just put answer over here. I'm going to import from React Native. I'm going to import the text. So let's go ahead and add the styles. So above here, I'm going to create a styles, which is going to take off the style sheets. So the style sheet comes from React Native .create. So the first one is the container, height of 43, width of 100%. We have to align the items to the center. We have to give a flex direction of row. We have to give it a margin bottom of 14, padding horizontal of 13, border radius of 2, also a background color of white. So let's give a style for the label. So enough of all the styling, I'm just gonna grab it and paste it once so that we can speed up things. So that is done. I'm just going to come down here. We have the label. Then for the container itself, we have to use styles.container, and one more thing I forgot to tell you is there is a module called Elevate, because we want to have an elevate effect, something like we added some elevate normally on React Native. So just come over to your project folder, terminate that. If that is running, you can add React Native elevate. So make sure you add this to your project. So I think I misspelled it, and that is elevate. So we have our app running again. So never mind the error you see. So let's go ahead and import from React Native elevate. So right here at the bottom, we can just bring in the elevate, and I want to elevate to 5, and I can actually give this a background color of, let's just go ahead and give it a background color of #CCC and save that. And inside our quiz, we can now import the button by ourselves. So one more thing that we didn't add for the button is the interface of the button. So the parameters that we are going to be making use of. So if you check, okay, if you okay, for now, let's just, it says width. Oh, sorry guys, I misspelled the width. So that solves it, and you can see we have the button over here, and you can see it looks like a real button, and this looks more better. We can even just, at the bottom here, we can add a little more button, and you can see we have all these buttons over here. So that solves it. So for the button itself, it's going to accept some parameters that we are going to be using. So we are going to pass down answer and also label. So let me just create an interface button props. So the button props is going to accept an answer, which is a string, and it's going to accept a label as well, which is a string. So let's pass button props here. We have the answer and we have the label. So over here we can just pass, you can say the answer, but let's just use only label, because if we pass the answer, let's use only label. So I can say the label have to be let me just pass the answer as the label. Then I can copy this, get rid of this one. Then over here I can just, let me clear this answer, and the label is going to come here. So you can see right now we still have the same result that we had previously, and that's because we are passing the answer as a prop over here. So we are done with the design. One more thing that we need to do, let's wrap this with touchable, oh no, touchable without feedback. So for this one, is going to accept something like an unpressed, but we can just quickly add it as well. So let me just check something, guys. We want that whenever this is pressed, we want it to start the trivia. So it's going to start the quiz, not the trivia actually. So let's save. So let's go ahead and test that and make sure that it is working. So in this start quiz, I can just give an alert working. Let's go ahead and click on it. So whenever we click on this, you can see touchable without feedback is going to fire an on-press event. Then we can fire the function that we are going to be using to make the request, and it's going to definitely make that request for us. So let's go ahead and populate everything that we need to populate. So whenever we start a new quiz, we have to get all these questions, get the new questions. Then we have to set the questions with the new questions, and we can set the score again to 0. Maybe whenever the user attempts the last question, we have to reset everything back to the 0. Then the set question right now is supposed to, I don't know why it's showing us, it says did you forget to use await. So we are still going to check on that to see the problem or the issue that we are having. Then we can set user answers to an array. You can set the number to 0. So we have to define a number, because you have to set a number to 0. Set number is going to use state 0, because whenever the question loads, it's an array of question. We set the number to 0, and lastly we can set when everything is done, we can set the loading back to false. So let's go ahead and fix the start quiz. So fixing this is very necessary and as well very simple. Then we can use an await over here, and that should clear that error, so that when we console.log our new questions, we should just get an array of questions. So right now you can see we have an array of questions displaying to tell us that everything is going on properly fine. So the next thing we have to do now is to dissect every little things that we are using here to some components. So we are going to create a component called question, because we want to pass the questions and also the answers as well. We want to pass it to their own different components. I'm going to create a question.tss. I'm also going to create an answers.tss. So inside the JSX, we have to just take from here to here. So we can just cut that, put the question component over there, and over here we can just replace everything with it. And now we can import immediately from React Native. We want to import the view and the text. So let's just quickly fix that. You can just import the question immediately. So are you sure that this got imported? Question. So let's, okay, it's because the components and also this question state is same thing. I think I have to get rid of this question state, and I save that, get rid of React and save it, check back, and our application is still working fine. And one more thing is for the answers. So sorry guys, we copied the wrong thing. So it is supposed to be for the questions and not for the one above. So let's just quickly fix that, and we can fix the single view. Then we can come over and put the question. So let's kind of check again, and we can get rid of that, and let's save Checking our application, nothing seems to be broken, and that solves it for that. So the next one is the answers. So we are just going to grab everything here, cut that, put the answers. So our application is supposed to be broken, which is perfectly good, and we can just create a little component. I don't want to use a class-based component, so we can just pass that here, and we can import our button from button, also import from React Native. We have to import the view for now. So let's save that and come back here and import that quickly. So that is working perfectly, exactly the way we want it. So we want the question and the answers to only be active when the question is greater than 0. So if we kind of console.log the questions right now, it's going to give us the array of questions, and if we kind of check the length, you will see we have the 10 questions being loaded. So what we want to do right now is to make sure that the questions.length is greater than 0, or else we should display null. So if it is greater than 0, it's going to display the questions as well as the answers. So for the questions now, we have to pass some parameters. So the first one we have is the question number. So it's going to be the number plus 1. Then the question itself is going to be questions. We have to pass the number. Remember that we start with number 0.question. So if everything that you do did work well, even with the interface, you will see some recommendations that is going to be showing you. So right now, let's go over to the question component and fix that. So over here, we have to create an interface called question props. So we have question number, which is a number. Then we have the question, which is a string. And I'm going to quickly change this to ESC's style. So over here, we can use the structuring while we pass in our question props so that we can have access to our question and question number. So over here, we can now replace this with the question number. The question number actually. Then we can replace all these questions with the question itself. So we seem to be having a breakdown. So what did I do? What did I do wrong? Let's undo all this. So let me just take it easy, guys. I think I'm too fast here. So we have the question number. Then I can clear everything here. We have the question itself. So let's go ahead and save that. Back in our application, we are supposed to get some question. So this is question, which is very wrong. Check again, and you can see we have who is a Batman. So right now we are getting the question from opentdb and not from a type down question. So let's go ahead also and do for the answers. So for the answers itself, is going to accept from the questions. We have to get answers. So if you can recall, questions is array. Then we can pass the values. We have the set answer. We have we also have to create a method called check answer. So I'm just going to quickly pass it, then we can create it immediately. So another thing that we need is the user answer, which is going to be the user answers. If there is any user answers, we have to get those answers with the number, else undefined. So we all need this because we are still going to be making use of them. I'm going to create a method called check answer think. So let me just grab this. I don't want a mistake, and I'll paste that. So let me just hurry up. Our time is getting big, and you can pass that. So over here we have the answers, the user answer. Let me just grab this, and the check answer. So I just quickly created the interface and brought it down using the structuring, just like we did before. So what we have to do right now is for each of these button, we have to replace it with the answers. So let's make sure that our answers loaded. So I can console.log answers to check. So right now you can see we have array of 4 answers added, and we don't actually know the right one because it's randomly sorted. So what we have to do right now is to get rid of all this. So inside here we can say answers.map. We can get the answer, we can get the keys. So we can just use a callback. Let's bring down a fragment. So inside this we can pass the keys to be the answer. This is supposed to be singular. Then over here we can use a button. Now the button, remember that the button accepts some parameters. So the first one is the label. So the label is going to, okay guys, let's do this way. So instead of us to use the label, we can actually do something like this. You can pass the key and the answer, because the answer is the text itself. So we don't have those props, but we are going to add it. So we can now use the onPress on it to make sure that the correct answer we selected is set back. So the way we can set it back is to use the set answer. So the set answer.current is going to be the answer. So even if we run this application, it's not going to work. We don't have anything to display yet. So the way we can fix that is to come over to the button. We have the key. The key is a number. We have the answer. Answer is a string. So we do not need the label anymore. We can bring the answer over here, and right here we can bring the answer. So let's save and check. So right now you can see we have all the answers. So if you can observe, when we are typing on the button, passing our properties on the button, we actually pass down an oppress event. So the way we can do that, use it, is very simple. So we have an onPress, which is a function that's going to return a void. Sorry for that. Then we have onPress, and we can just do something like this, and it's going to trigger that function for us. From here, whenever we click on any answer, we are going to definitely call check answer. So check answer is coming from our props as well. So guys, let's just stop the video here. On the next part of the video, we are going to totally complete everything so that we can have a nice working application. But right now we have been able to load our question and also get our answers. So thank you for watching. Do make sure you hit the like button and also the subscribe button. So guys, welcome back. So let's make sure that this check answer is actually working. So back in our quiz, I'm going to kind of allow an alert event, so I can just put alert over here. So whenever a question loads, and let's click on that, you can see that from the component that is a child component, we are able to emit back to our parent component using the props that we passed down. So right now, let's just go ahead and confirm some things. So whenever we click on an answer, if the game is not over, we have to get the user answer. So we grab the user answer from the answer, we grab it from the set answer or the current value, then we check if the answer is correct. So check if answer is correct. So we can say if const correct, let me just, is equal to the questions, we have the number. So from the questions array, we get the current number that we are currently in. Then we can go over to the current answer. If it equals to the answer of the user, that is going to return a boolean value, either true or false. Then we can say if it's correct, we have to increment the score. So increment the score. So we can say if correct, set score to, we get the previous from the score. We can now say previous plus 1. Then we have to create our own answer object. So the answer object is still going to be stored in the user answers over here. So don't worry, as you go on, you're going to understand. So before we move on, there is something that we really need to add, that is for the score. In order to display a score, we can just add a view. Now inside this view, let's just add a text. Now let me just grab exactly what is here. So I'm just going to copy that and paste it and change this. Oh, sorry guys for that. I can change this to be a score. Then for the view itself, I'm going to give it a margin vertical. Let's misspell this. Margin vertical of 20. So I'm just going to save that. And over here, you can see we have a score. So when I click on this, if I select the correct one, it's going to increment that score for me. So I have to add the score text over here. So that makes it better. So if I select the answer, the correct one, you can see I can now have the correct answer selected and the score is going to increase. So let's go back to where we are working before. So what we wanted to do is to create our own answer object. So let's create the answer object and save it, save answer in the array of answers. So we can just create an answer object which is going to take a question, questions, we get a current number dot current number dot correct answer. No, sorry, the question is the question, not the correct answer. Then we can pass down the answer, you can pass down the correct, you can as well get the correct answer, which is question, we have the number dot correct answer. So we can now set our answer object. So the way we can do that is to set user answers. So we can get the previous value. So we can spread the previous value because it's an array of objects. Then we can now pass the new objects. So I'm just going to add T to that. So right now, let's go ahead and make sure that our app is working correctly, and you can see we do not have any error. So whenever we select this, we need to pass this user answer back to the button prop. So let's kind of check whether we've really done that. So we have already done that. So one thing we have to add also is the types for the answer object. So we didn't actually add that. Let's go over to the utils.ts. So we are going to create a state for our answers. So let me kind of check something. So this interface is going to be making reference to, we don't really need it here, but we can add it because we have to create for all these values that we added here, so that we can pass it to the set user answers. So at the top here, I'm going to create a spot type of answer objects. We have the question to be a string, the answer to be a string. So guys, I'm trying not to make sure that the tutorial is so long. We have the correct to be a boolean, and we have the correct answer. The correct answer is also a string. So we can come over to set user answer and pass down the answer objects, and I think that should solve it. So that should solve it. So we pass down the answer object. Export type answer object is equals to this. So that solves it for the user answer. So whenever we select that, we pass it down to the answer component. So over here I can set, I think is, let me close this down. We have the user answer. So the user answer is an object or undefined. User answer, we have object or undefined. I don't know why we are having an issue. User answer. Oh, I don't really know why we are having an issue, but okay guys, I'm sorry for that. That is supposed to be at the top, not inside the component, or we have undefined. So let's go ahead and detect whenever a user selects the right answer, so that this text color will actually change. The way we can do that is come over to where we are passing the prop to the button in the answers component. So what you have to do is to create a logic for that. So we can create a logic called correct, which is going to take our user answer. I think we have to get a user answer from here. Yeah. So it's going to take the user answer, and the user answer is going to check that against the correct answer, and if that is there, we can equate it together to make sure that, to check whether it is correct, we have the answer props, and also we should have the answer object. So instead of us to use an object here, why don't we use the answer object? So guys, sorry for that little noise. I can import from quiz. Oh, so I can import the answer object. So we have answer object or undefined, so that we do not have this this error over here or red squiggly line. So we can even do that. It will recommend it for us. One more thing we can do is we can add a disable button, because this is not a web but I think this should solve it for now. So back in the button, all we can do is, since we have passed a correct value, which is a boolean, we can actually get the correct. Let's kind of console.log the correct, because that's the one we are making use of. So let's check for the right answer. We have false, and you can see we have true. So right now what I can do is, after the unpress, we can actually create one more. So guys, sorry for this delay. I'm just kind of trying to make this look more unique. When we are done with this, you're going to understand. It is user answer true, else false. So back in the button as well, you can use disable this way, boolean, and we can get it from here. So I can actually use that over here. If it is not false, if the disabled is not false, let the color be white, or let the color be this, I mean the background color. This is this way. And now for the text, instead of us to use a single color, when the user selects the right answer, if it is correct, all you just have to give the user a red color, or else let's use that our default thing 6996. So let's save and check, and you can see because the answer is correct, you can see right now we have the correct one selected, and that's because I selected it before. So if we are to, like, let me kind of refresh our application or reopen it, that will be better. So you can see that normally the text is not going to be red, except for the one that is the correct one. So when we select the one that is wrong, it is going to still show us the correct one, but our score is not going to increase. So the next thing we have to do now is to make sure we move over to the next question. So we are going to quickly do that, and think that will be one thing that we're going to use to stop. So we're almost approaching the end. So I'm going to create a next question function. So we have to move on to the next question, if not the last question. So we have to get the next question, which is we have to increment the number. Then we can say if next is equal to the total number. If it is equal to 10, we can set the game over to true. After setting the game over to true, else you can set the number to the next question. So we can actually make use of this now because we have not actually applied it in the button. So down at the button here, instead of us to use this play button, we can actually check whether we have a game over. If not game over and it's not loading as well, then and the number is not equal to the total number, because it's going to start from 0 to 9, then we have to display this, or else display this. So it's going to display the play button. So why are we having an issue? let me kind of use null here for now. Still the problem. I don't know why this is happening. Okay, I think that's because we've not passed a. Okay, we can set the active to true, or we can use next here. Let me just put this down. Y for this one is the next. So let's go ahead and save that. And we are not okay, fine. So you can see right now it's actually working properly. So when we click on the play, we have to start the quiz. But when we click on the next, we have to trigger the next question. So I'm just going to grab this. I'm going to grab this on press and put here. Then for this one, I can say on press, which is this, to get the next question, which is the function of the next question. And that means that we can go over to the next one. So let's go ahead and check that. So we are supposed to, I think I did this in the wrong way. We have to properly use a callback next question. So let's save and try that again. Still not working. But over here we can let's kind of alert. So what happened was that the touchable without feedback was wrapping both of them. So I had to wrap them individually. Then we can pass the component to the onPress. Then over here you can see that you can now uncomment this, and when we play this again, let's go over to the next question, and you can see it's taking me to the next question, and it's taking me and it's taking me and it's taking me, and that solves it. And one more thing we can do is to make sure that the question number is actually changing. So if you can understand, we are in question number 6, but it's not actually reflecting on our question number. So let me kind of quickly check it out, because I don't want to waste time on the video again. We can just quickly come over to this place. We can clear this out. Then over here you can just put the number plus 1. You don't want that number to start with 0 either, so that is why you have to use number plus 1. Then you divide it with the question length, and let's check that. So we are in question 1, we're in question 2. So I'm just going to select. So right now let's go ahead and fix one more thing, that is the ability for this to move over to the next question whenever we select any answer, whether it is right or whether it is wrong. So what we can do right now is to set timeout. You can use the set timeout. So it's going to run 800 milliseconds, and it's just going to call the next question. So whether the answer is correct or not, it's going to move over to the next question once we select any answer. And right now you can see the app is working perfectly. And let's just go over to the last one. So I got 2, and I happen to select the last one, and it comes over to the 10th one. So whenever it comes to the 10th one, the next question is going to stop, because the next question here and the total question are the same, and I can play the trivia and it's going to start it afresh. But let's add something like a spinner icon to notify the user that this is starting, and that is just going to be something very simple. So we can add that from here. We can see if it's not loading, then you have to display everything here. So we can just use this. Let's just grab both of that. and come where this one stops and come here and paste that. Oh, sorry guys, I just made a mistake. Okay, if it is not loading, just display from here to here, or else no, you shouldn't get an error. You can actually use fragments. So guys, I'm just kind of rushing because I want this to complete. So we have already spent much time. So if not, just show a null. I'm gonna format that and I'm gonna break it down. Oh, sorry guys. I'm going to break it down and I'm going to come down here, think inside here, and paste that, and that will get rid of that error. So I'm going to import a spinner icon. So the spinner icon comes from native base, I guess. Well, let's kind of save to see the effect. And when we save, you see we see an empty screen. We can actually use the activity indicator from React Native, and I'm going to just go over to the React Native documentation. Let me just grab something large and I'll put there. So grabbing something large, I'm going to change this to 006996 and I'm going to save it. Actually it's not showing, and I think that's because it needs to be wrapped in a view. So let me kind of check. Yeah, so we need to quickly wrap this inside the view and give it a style flex of 1. Justify the content to the center, then align the items as well to the center. Oh, sorry guys. So we're almost done, and let's save. Actually nothing showed up, or we should have something that should show up. So the activity indicator, does it really come from React Native? Okay, so guys, even if you have something like a spinner, you can add that. There is nothing much there. We have already done the main work we want to do. So thank you for watching. Do make sure you hit the like button and also the subscribe button.